Well, as we all know, farmers are always seeking a more cost-effective way to grow their crops. And of course, one of the most expensive inputs a farmer applies every season is fertilizer.
However, one UGA researcher is working on a project that hopefully will help farmers reduce that cost. Mark Wildman has the story.
On a small test plot in Watkinsville, Georgia, Nicholas Hill, a professor in the Crop and Soil Sciences Department at the University of Georgia, is studying a way to drastically reduce the cost for Georgia farmers. His research at the J. Phil Campbell Research Center hinges on using clover to supply a crop of corn the nitrogen it needs to grow.
Traditionally, I've worked on forage crops, but here recently I've ventured into corn production using a forage crop as a living mulch, what we call living mulch, to take advantage of the nitrogen fixing capacity of a legume and hopefully transfer that nitrogen from the legume to the corn plant.
This exciting study is in its early stages, and there are still many questions to answer. But the research being done here and other locations around Georgia will try many different types of growing strategies to see which one works best.
In this particular experiment here, we're using different population densities of corn and planted on different row configurations. So we have a high population density and a low population density corn, and we have 30-inch rows and 36-inch rows. And by manipulating that configuration, we are going to permit different amounts of light to penetrate down through the corn canopy to the clover. And what will happen over the course of the season, depending upon how much light or how much lack of light there is to the clover will drop its leaves. Those leaves will decompose, release the nitrogen that's in the leaves, and that will become available to the corn. So the clover acts like a time release capsule of nitrogen for the corn plant.
One key element to the process is making sure the herbicide applications are efficient and effective. The crop of clover is killed back every season in strips, so the corn can be planted without competition from the clover. He works with UGA weed scientist Bill Vinsel to narrow down the right herbicide applications.
I've been working with Nick looking at herbicides to kill the clover at crop establishment and finding herbicide programs within the crop season that will actually allow weed control and not permanently kill the clover.
The herbicide applications that are being studied here are another added benefit to producers.
Since the herbicide is being applied in a band and instead of broadcast, say you're doing an 8-inch band on a 30-inch row, you're going to reduce herbicides by a third rather than broadcasting it out where you'd put a full rate out on the field. So you do reduce herbicide use overall.
This farm is in its early stages of trials, but research at his Floyd County farm has seen promising results.
Well, we had an experiment last year in which the clover was in its second year cycle. And we looked at the amount of nitrogen that was taken up by the corn, and there was about 260 pounds per acre of nitrogen taken up by the corn, which is in excess of what we would apply to corn normally. Normally we apply about 250 pounds of nitrogen to corn in terms of mineral fertilizer, but with the clover system in that second year, we were able to get over 260 pounds of nitrogen into the corn plant. So ideally, we would like to just eliminate the need for nitrogen. Whether we're really capable of doing that or whether last year was just an enigma, we don't know.
So as these corn seeds that he is planting begin to grow, this field of clover will work hard supplying the farm nitrogen and valuable information that someday might change the way farmers grow corn. Reporting from Watkinsville, I'm Mark Wildman for the Georgia Farm Monitor.